My name is Terence Bolden again. I'm Chief Executive Officer and President of the TLB Enterprises Holding Group, which basically manages a family of companies in the clean tech, high tech, and business consulting areas for companies and emerging groups in emerging markets. And we manage a program called Business Beyond Boundaries, which basically is designed to match up small and medium-sized enterprises in a developed market like the US or country to emerging market groups and needs for big project and solution oriented needs and demands in those markets. I'm going to specifically focus on two markets today or areas, specific locations in the world where we're doing some work and have had some good success and are developing projects to make the case and the examples, give some examples of how your small and medium-sized enterprise or technical solution might be used to solve some problems in these areas around the areas of human need, food, water, energy, clean energy, and other types of technical and digital services. So the first slide that you see here is focusing on a boat ride that I took just a little while ago in October, early October. And my wife and I actually went there together, and they're starting a program or a new city. They're developing a new city, a smart city in Kochi. So I was in the state of Kerala in India aboard this boat where these rice paddies are actually below sea level. They've have a wonderful, beautiful waterway there that you travel through on by boat. And some of what I'm going to talk about has to do with the technologies that they're looking for to solve problems for energy to power these boats, clean energy solutions, and lower some of their costs for energy. So I'll go to the second slide. And I'll come back to that boat again. I started out with it for a purpose, and we'll end with that boat. But that boat kind of makes the case for us about the different locations in the world, how people move around, what sources of energy and challenges they face to be mobile. And as we go to the second slide, what you see is in emerging market opportunities, specifically focusing on Kochi, India, and a place called Kanko Village in Ghana, Accra, Africa, is where we're going to start this morning and use two examples. But in any of these emerging markets, the big picture for the market opportunity obviously has to start with ways that you can solve the communications and other types of needs around data, IT, knowledge management, information sharing as the backbone for actually helping to develop and build up those markets and grow them into developed markets. And so all industries, no matter what their structure as they merge, they're going to engage developed countries around the world and do foreign trade and investment. They need IT and digital services as a major hub and starting point. So from that infrastructure, you can start to address in a more comprehensive way the medical issues, many of which are basically exacerbated by lack of clean water, which many of the technological solutions that the companies that are members of ICANN can help address. Obviously, many of these people want to own their own businesses and have an entrepreneurial spirit, but in many cases, they don't know how to make the leap from where they are to those the new technological type systems and skill sets that they need. So they need training and development, and that's where I see groups and as part of the iCAN-Global network and through the TLB Business Beyond Boundaries program, providing those services, whether it's in the transportation arena, electronic vehicles, or flights and services around solutions for fuel, shelf life of fuel, or manufacturing itself that really is what they're looking for to provide jobs of the future as they grow and develop that market. They prefer to stay home. I mean, in many cases, like what we see just happened in the Philippines, we got a major calamity there. But 10 to 15 million people were already out of the country working abroad. They are basically exporting people and labor skills around the world because they don't have jobs at home. We hope that that's not our case in the United States. 10, 15 years from now, we have a big gap with labor right now, obviously, and jobs. Part of what we're talking about doing with the Business Beyond Boundaries program is creating those jobs at home through the back office support and services digitally and virtually through big solution-oriented groups like iCAN, creating jobs at home through the services you provide in these emerging markets. Now, if we'll go to the next slide. The real opportunity here in emerging markets is a need. They have the need for access to knowledge because there's a huge knowledge gap in most instances between what we can do in the U.S. with our small business as opposed to what you see as a small business, even here in Dubai, where it's a very developed and growing and thriving city and emirate. And even to the point where we're going to probably see Dubai awarded in a few days the 2020 Expo, which is going to drive about $11 billion, well, $18 billion worth of business over the next 7 years, would be paid for with consulting services and other support to prepare them to get ready for the 2020 Expo. But the innovation and infrastructure piece, no matter what you're looking at in the emerging market, whether it's flights, building, construction, all need the kind of digital support services and forward thinking to close the gaps that they have with the skill sets and abilities that they currently possess in that market. So when you start taking that forward, let me use some key examples. We go to the next slide. This is Congo Village, Africa. These pictures that I'm showing come from a actual farm in Congo Village there in Africa, in Ghana, just outside of Accra, about 3 hours. I went with a group there just late September, and as you can see, I've been doing a lot of traveling. And actually, I did the assessment, the environmental assessment there with a group, and everything from the water situation to how they're growing the crops to all the things that they have available to them in this 1.6 kilometer by 1.5 kilometer by 200 meter to 1.6 kilometer area community. And everything that you can imagine they actually have there to live off the land, but much of the technological many of the technological solutions that they need for clean water, more irrigation for crops and things like that, that stunt the growth of these tomatoes. These tomatoes should be very large. In most cases, they're so small because once the rainy season is over for 3 or 4 months, they have no access to water because of the lack of infrastructure that brings that water to irrigate. They do have access to water to streams, creeks just nearby, where if they had the right infrastructure in place, they could better irrigate these crops and provide themselves, with more yield on their crops. Now, as you go to the next slide, the reason why you can't address the agriculture issue is because you have to address actually the water problem for human consumption first. So you see these two different water sources. One is a natural spring that is cloudy looking, and it's a natural spring on this property in this village. And they come and they get water and they use it to drink and clean and hygiene and so forth. And by the time the first few people get that water in the early part of the day, it's starting to become a problem for human consumption, where disease and other problems from water-borne diseases are then injected into the community. The second picture is a well that is abandoned. They have 3 of these in that little community, and 2 of them did not work, mainly because of mechanical problems and silt that are kind of located in the bottom of this one, and where the water, when it comes in from the drainage source down above out of the mountain, which is a natural water supply that they tapped into, they did not repair it for that reason. And then the second one, they just didn't have the resources to do it, mainly because of their money sources of cassava, tomatoes, the cocoa, and so forth, are being stemming by lack of, I think, technological solutions that could help them get greater yields from the crop and negotiate better prices. They then would have the money to address some of the core needs of human existence, clean water, housing type opportunities, and so forth. This place is called Timber Junction in Congo Village because of the timber history in that area. But between the 1950s and 1970s, they actually cut every tree down of timber. And now they're using, even though the name of the village is Timber Junction, they're using clay huts with just a few two by fours on top of the roof and tin to live in, even though the name of their area is Timber Junction. So just reforestation and replanting the trees over time in this that time period where they cut all these trees down would have allowed them to continue to be a major timber producing area, and that industry would have been addressed. So when you go to the next picture, another city that we're working in is Kochi in Kerala, India, which is a state in southern India. Beautiful place. And the boat that I showed you in the beginning, actually that's the back of the boat with the air conditioning unit carrier, actually air conditioning units, which is the boat I spent a night on. And they have below that those air conditioning units, they have diesel powered generators. Now, once they get ready to dock for the evening and pull over between the waterway, between the rice paddies that are below sea level that I told you about in the beginning, they plug into these power sources to the left of that boat where you see the carrier units. And this is a very expensive way to do it in terms of what they actually need power wise to move those boats. There are other solutions that we're proposing where they don't have to pull power from that power grid and pay those huge fees each month.
Hey,
They run
Terrence.
thousands of trips up that waterway per day
Hey, Terrence.
with tour. Yes.
I'm sure my friend Steve Young, sitting here in the audience, is very happy to hear about the carrier units because he probably got them built.
Great. Well, we'd like to offer some other technical solutions to some of your other friends there for ways to solve some of the energy issues of moving those boats and supplying energy in peak periods of day through solar and other forms of clean energy that they can bring down some of their costs and not use the diesel generators as much but use them as backups in most cases because sun is a very present and plentiful thing here, obviously. So that's two examples of two different locations. And if you look at the kind of things that they need to emerge and develop, you go to the next slide, slide number 7. It's all the things that are here and more. I just took some of the things that Les and I and others are working on as a team to present a very forward-looking, futuristic solution in a project design called Smart City Coaching that is owned by TCOM Investments. And our organization basically has secured the negotiating rights to put forward a proposal that we believe that they will accept. They've asked for a much more comprehensive meeting on Monday, Les, as you know, and you'll be on that call. I guess it'll be 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning for you or something like that.
4:30 in the morning.
4 o'clock in the morning, yeah. So I get to pay them back, guys, for keeping me up late. So it's a real opportunity for these technologies to be actually implemented into these communities and opportunities for our Business Beyond Boundaries program to engage the U.S. government, units and groups like ICAN, to be able to offer their services and their solutions as well as project management expertise in these different places around the world. Specifically coming out of Abu Dhabi and Dubai, it is a gateway now to the Middle East, North African markets. And the services we provide underneath our Business Beyond Boundaries program opens up that gateway as a backbone for U.S. companies to have the representation they need as small and medium-sized enterprises, where the big multinationals are already doing their work. We provide that opportunity for small and medium-sized enterprises to emerge beyond the boundaries of the U.S. into the developing or emerging markets. And so the last slide that you see here, TLB Enterprise Business Beyond Boundaries program, all of these areas under construction, IT infrastructure, safety, big digital needs and destination marketing, park employment, hotel restaurant type development, airport and travel facilities, research institutions, and incubation and acceleration programs. All are things that are needed in every one of these markets, and particularly here with what we're putting forward, our proposal for smart city coaching. And so in the end, I've been told this morning, Les, that I should get through this, and I pretty much tried to do it. The world needs your solution there in New York with the iCAN program. We are an iCAN partner. The Business Beyond Boundaries program is what gets your solution there, whether it's in Kerala or if you look on the right side in another location in the world. We are the group that can help you get that done. So don't hesitate to look us up at www.tlbenterprise.com. We are changing out our website and moving forward and scaling up for this coming year, and hope to close out the year very strong or less with the major contract that you will be able to announce to your people sometime, hopefully in the next month. So,
Terence, I've known you for a long time. This is the shortest you've ever spoken.
well, I tell you, I hope the people in the room like that. And, but I'm open for questions. And I also was told recently, I'm adopting this method, that Walter Mondale was in a room, whether you like his politics or not, years ago, and many people had spoken, and the audience was very tired, and they told him, if you give your speech, make it short. And so he got up and said, they told me to give my speech and make it short. That's my speech. Everybody clapped, loved him from then on, and that's what we're trying to do.
One of the really interesting things, Terence, is we have some people in the room who have done business in that part of the world, but we're trying very hard to find new services such as human resources. You're welcome up there. Yeah. Investment through my friend Keith, and new products, new services. Is there other than water, other than maybe transportation? Give me some of the top 2 or 3 types of technologies that you think can thrive in that market.
You mean, are we talking India, or are we talking Dubai area, or are we talking?
Sure.
Okay. Okay, well, I think definitely security, software, and command type digital services around managing the infrastructure and systems controls for these new cities that are developing. Also, major training and development opportunities for skill sets in the area of performance improvement for organizations, and enterprise solutions that address those needs, that starts to reduce some of the stress and workload on management. Those are big areas that really have opportunities, and clearly solar and other energy efficiency type systems for energy ESCOs are a big opportunity over here. If you can open up one of those and move it forward, if you've got those kinds of solutions or an infrastructure to support that, these kind of opportunities are available, in these markets all day, over here.
One of last question for you this morning is, there's always a question about intellectual property protection, and how are you finding the integration in IP between other parts of the world and in your part of the world?
Well, good question. I mean, we manage a program called the International Technology Engagement Exchange Program with universities. We work with about 5 of the universities in Florida, Yukon, and some folks down in Arkansas, unless we're definitely willing to work with you guys over there, as you know. And we're starting to engage UC Davis and some other groups. So depending on if we're working with university institutions that have research and development units, or we're working with a private group that's providing a technical or technological solution that has IP involved, we work with the free trade zone and foreign trade zone unit of that particular or local government, and we provide the office representation, or we ask you to open a branch office. And you don't have to, in that case, manage your IP in a way that you expose it to this market as you would at home. So you can sell globally, and unless they open up your devices or whatever it is that you're offering, you can manage and protect it pretty much that way. You need some type. Obviously, if you're talking about patents, it needs to be an international patent, or you need a direct, what we do in this case, contract with some type of government to government program, such as the U.S. Department of Commerce Import Export Bank agreement to fund part of that, or a U.S. Department of Commerce free trade zone and foreign trade zone type program. And we work with the U.S. Ambassador Corbin over here in Abu Dhabi to address that. It will be the same thing with the U.S. Ambassador's office in any other country.
Well, we happen to have our favorite intellectual property attorney here in the room this morning, and I'm sure I know there are always questions surrounding intellectual property and the movement of intellectual property.
Well, the last thing I didn't say, Les, we use a group called Patent and Boggs that people may be familiar with. And Patent and Boggs has been in this region for about 30 years. And they have offices in Qatar, Doha, in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, Abu Dhabi, and Dubai. And our representative is former Transportation Secretary under Bill Clinton, Rodney Slater. So you will need some representation on the contractual side for these large contracts where you're doing government engagements, because unless you have skilled legal counsel in the area of Sharia law, which is where most of your, if you're talking about in this Middle East region, most of your contracts are going to be signed under Sharia law here, or depending on how you're doing the contracting and who you're working for. In India or somewhere else, it could come underneath a special economic zone type policy where the U.S. government has already negotiated how the IP and things like that should be handled. But still, and you have predatory environments in all of these markets, including China, in Qatar, and different places. But it comes down to the relationships in the end, and the kind of contract that you sign, and who your representative on the legal side is to help negotiate that if it's a large contract. If it's a smaller contract and it's business to business, in most cases, you'll be fine.
Great. Terence, thank you so much.